From starting with just $7 in his pocket, The Rock has managed to build a $1 million empire. But sometimes millions is just not enough. Not if you want to become a living, breathing, walking billboard. The things he does are so filtered, so perfectly designed to self-promote to a point where it makes us question everything.
John Cena, alarm clock. Can you imagine waking up to this face every morning? Ding, 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 ding.
The Rock is what every HR manager wants their employees to act like all the time. People are saying he is more brand than Russell at this point. But now his strategy has backfired. It turns out people are not buying it, not anymore. From being one of the most followed people on Instagram, he has now lost more than 450,000 followers on IG in the last month. He also had a 50% drop in TikTok likes and is even losing followers on YouTube. And if you spend any time on IG, you know the comments are a hot mess. He has been lying about a bunch of things, made one of the most disliked WWE videos of all time, and even tried to dabble in politics. As you can see, this didn't end well. Just take a look at his In-N-Out visits. He has been documenting his first visits over the last 6 years. In 2016, The Rock was famous for dedicating himself to his fitness routine. He often talked about how he broke away from his healthy meals by eating huge amounts of cheap foods once a week. In 2017, he posted this on Instagram. He captioned it, "I've never been to In-N-Out before. I know, what an asshole. But when my lovely ladies at Lauren Haitian Official and at Simone Johnson wanted late night grub, I happily obliged and pulled in the drive-thru." Then, years later in 2022, he posted this. The caption, "My first time ever eating at In-N-Out. A solid start with a bite of good fries, as we know shitty fries can ruin the whole experience." Then, for a third time in 2023, but after fans called him out, he changed the caption and said, "My first ever at In-N-Out burger experience again. Thanks to the fans who reminded me that I went to In-N-Out years ago and totally forgot about it." He even congratulated himself for giving a big tip.
Why? Why are you lying about that? You could just say, like, I love In-N-Out, so I'm going back to In-N-Out. Let's go. Can't wait for more In-N-Out. Why does it always have to be your first time? We know it's not.
If you are lying about it, at least delete the old Instagram post to try and hide the evidence. Or is he so detached from reality that his sponsored content becomes his only personality? Did he forget he wasn't always rich? Well, this isn't the only lie he has been called out for. The dude still claims he is not relying on steroids to get the body he has always dreamed of. This has earned him the title of the fakest celebrity of all time. Back in 2009, in an interview with MTV, The Rock admitted that he tried steroids when he was younger. He said, "Me and my buddies tried it back in the day when I was 18 or 19. Didn't know what we were doing." But he didn't consider it that big of a deal because once he got serious with his exercise and diet, he had no need for them. He was just built different. He gave everyone a clear message that after he was done experimenting, he had led a 100% steroid-free life. Whenever people started talking about it, he would say, "Sure, you get a lot of people out there who will suspect and say they want to negate the hard work you put in." He told fans that training is his only anchor, and we can see this from all the clips he is posting online, especially his regimen and fitness schedule. But people forget that he is 52 years old and he is looking bigger than ever. Just look at these pictures from then and now. It is just insane. Everybody knows that you lose lean muscle mass as you age. You can lose energy, your testosterone can naturally decline, and so on. Wear and tear on the joints usually starts to accumulate, which is why it is easier for younger men to bounce right off, but older men require more effort and better care. But when it comes to The Rock, he hasn't reached his peak in his 20s, 30s, or 40s. No, he has the best body, the best muscles, and physique in his 50s.
You know, when you see The Rock with his shirt off, there's not a man alive who doesn't want to be built like that.
What makes this worse is that he's trying to be a fitness influencer.
I would say possible, almost 8,000 calories a day. My diet has honestly pretty much remained the same for the past 5 to 10 years.
That's why even Coach Greg talked about it and called him out.
Day on a cheat on Saturday when he had epic French toast and burgers and fries, he once ate 6,000 to 8,000 calories in a day. It's not what he eats.
Here you can see The Rock's 5 best muscle building secrets. This is what he wants you to think. All the exercises he does to stay in shape and do all the things he has to do to play these roles. But right off the bat, we can give you one thing that is not on this list: steroids. If it's not steroids, then it's testosterone replacement therapy.
The Rock is on steroids.
What are your thoughts on that?
You know, I've been to America and I know what goes on. I would believe that The Rock would be on testosterone replacement therapy.
The thing about The Rock is that over time, he has become a product designed to appeal to the masses. The idea for him is to be the hardest working man in the room, this larger-than-life archetype that has excellent charisma and a good personality. It is edgy enough to be convincing, but not too edgy that will make him unlikable. He wakes up super early, eats more than anyone else, and has literally perfected his workout routine, the type of hyper-masculine role that sells in Hollywood. It's all about the rags to riches story, how it can inspire people, get them to do better, try his stuff, and so on. Like, remember that time when he quit the WWE and lost most of his muscle? So he took up odd roles like that in The Tooth Fairy. His management team tried to rebrand him with a different image and sell his new character, but that didn't work. So he is back to this perfect larger-than-life character. Now, all he has to do is keep molding himself based on the persona he has created, based on the product he is trying to sell. For example, he is pushing his tequila so much that people say he kind of looks like an alcoholic right now. But before that came into the picture, he rarely, almost never talked about drinking alcohol.
You know what? You're not that hard. Because take a shot of tequila without making a face.
He created a record-selling tequila brand. He launched Terramana in 2020, and the product went viral in a matter of days. Apparently, the actor decided on such a venture because he has been a big fan of tequila for quite some time. Since he had all the influence and money, it would make sense to start his own brand and take it from there. I mean, he even did a rap cameo at the end of the song Face Off just to promote his tequila.
Tech 9. Thank you, Terramana. One take.
Isn't this too much? Well, it doesn't matter because it worked. The company saw huge success in the United States, and it is even planning on launching in the Asian and European markets as well. Another thing that made The Rock lose followers was when many fans thought he was caught lying about potentially competing in Pride FC in '97. Back then, he was still at the start of his career as a pro wrestler. He didn't think his wrestling career was going to work out because he got booed out of the arena. He wanted to make more money, but admitted he would have gotten beaten up very badly. That's because Pride had quality fighters, and considering The Rock was also a genetic powerhouse, he would have fit right in. He would have been younger and probably fitter than other experienced wrestlers, which could have opened the path to new opportunities. Now, considering and signing a contract are two different things. But after he appeared on the Joe Rogan podcast, people started picking apart his story. The Pride event happened in October 1997. For Rock to even think about fighting right then and there, he should have been aware of it since its launch. The first time Kerr had a Pride fight was in 1998. Shamrock had his debut in 2000. But according to fans, The Rock's timeline just doesn't add up. One fan posted, "He's turning into Hogan with these stories. Yeah, you were going to train for a bit and then take on Fire, Severn, Gracie's, Goodridge, Taktaroff, Kerr, Chemo, etc. And in 1997, they had their first event, and by the end of 1998, they'd only done 3 more shows. Shamrock eventually fought in Pride, but it was in 2000, after he left WWE in 1999. Another fan commented, "Shamrock went to WWE because there was no money in MMA at this time." Another said, "The Rock trying to get cool points from Joe Rogan is sad to see." While a fourth added, "It must be a wrestler thing. First it was Hulk Hogan, now this." On a recent episode of Storytime with Dutch Mantel, the co-host Romero had a similar statement. He talked about how the Brahma Bull turned heel, which means he shifted from a face persona to a heel persona. For those who don't know about wrestling terminology, there are 2 types of characters in pro wrestling. You have the babyface or face players, who are basically the good guys. They rarely take advantage of circumstances or cheat. They are looking for a clean way to win, so to speak. The heel players are the classic bad guys. They will do whatever it takes to win, even if it means distracting the refs, bending the rules, and so on. So The Rock turned heel in professional wrestling before Pride FC held its inaugural event in Tokyo. In the meantime, Mantel doesn't seem to trust anything The Rock is saying.
Rock told a very interesting story, but I don't ever think that Rock would have been a success in the WWE.
Mantel is a former WWE manager. He thinks The Rock would not have been successful as an MMA fighter. Over the past 10 years, several former wrestling superstars have given MMA a shot. Some didn't do well, like CM Punk, while others, like Brock Lesnar, found some success. Well, he isn't as strict about timing as others, but just thinking about joining an MMA organization is one thing. Actually training and fighting is a completely different story. He can't imagine The Rock going up against Fedor Emelianenko, Fedor is incredibly tough and dominates his opponents, so he doesn't think there's any chance The Rock would have succeeded. The Rock might have thought about it, but actually getting in the ring and fighting is another matter. Mantell just doesn't think The Rock would have made it. Well, there are other reasons The Rock is losing followers, and one of them has to do with a specific tank. That's right, a combat vehicle. An American tank division named a tank after him. Here is what he posted on his Instagram. I'm sending a salute of respect and gratitude to the Black Hawk Squadron, U.S. 1st Armored Division, for the honor of naming their tank the most advanced in the world, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. The actor was very grateful and happy, but his fans hated it. They called it just another ego boost, claiming that Dwayne had a pro-war mindset. This is why a lot of people unfollowed him. They said that finally Dwayne had revealed his true colors, and it was this type of mindset that could destroy his career and reputation. One user posted, "For a man who claims to be empathetic to endorse a killing machine is kind of crazy. No, it won't be used to defend our own country. It will be used to wage undeclared, unconstitutional special interest wars, killing innocents as a result." Of course, not everyone hated it. Some said that The Rock didn't have to apologize for it. But what really pissed people off was when he made a political statement that sounded very much like a paid endorsement.
Publicly endorsed a presidential candidate or a vice presidential candidate in my life, over my career. So I figured let's kick this conversation off this way by me officially publicly endorsing you both to become president and vice president of our great country.
For a long time before that, people knew The Rock as being politically independent. But then everything changed in 2020 when he made this announcement and lost a lot of respect. Then he went on Fox and Friends yet again and said he wouldn't be endorsing Biden anymore because he realized his mistake and regretted it. He said, "In today's easy cancel culture world and cancel culture, woke culture, this culture, that culture division, etc., that really bugs me." Apparently, now he learned that being honest and real was more important than worrying whether he would get canceled or not. But with all of these endorsements and statements, it seems that The Rock doesn't just act on set, he's acting everywhere he goes, no matter who he spends time with. We definitely saw that with the Maui scandal. He begged for donations for charity to help the people of Maui when he is worth $800 million and Oprah is worth $2.5 billion.
The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, coming together to aid communities impacted by the wildfires, launching a fund with an initial donation of $10 million.
So of course, we have a multi-millionaire and a billionaire asking poor people for money. They first announced they would donate $10 million, but instead they used $5 million to create the People's Fund of Maui. It is supposed to be for the people. Then why don't The Rock and Oprah ask their billionaire friends to donate instead of those living paycheck to paycheck? For starters, people had some legitimate worries about the nonprofit The Rock and Oprah were using. Their funds were managed by the Entertainment Industry Foundation. The thing is, the EIF did post where their funding goes, and it turns out that their top employees and executives are earning a hefty sum. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. The CFO makes more than $290,000 a year. The CEO makes more than $350,000 a year. And the president makes more than $480,000 a year. Well, at least the foundation is providing $1,200 in relief to the survivors, compared with the $700 from the US government. That should suffice, right? In reality, the way this foundation is set up, people ended up getting not enough, if anything at all. This caused a lot of controversy and it became a huge burden for the people of Maui. These people went through so much in so little time that it is just devastating. And land grab after land grab, it was just overwhelming.
If I have to go pitch a tent on the ashes, that's what I'm gonna have to do.
The Rock also addressed the backlash and talked about it.
There was some backlash that came with launching the fund, and I want to address and acknowledge that backlash right now.
But this didn't sound like an apology, only that he tried to take accountability for his actions in his own way. And all of this is filmed next to that big mansion and pool in the backyard. It would have been better if these celebrities had just given the funds from their own pockets and stopped asking the public to fund something when they can barely pay for the stuff they need for themselves. According to a major portion of the population, this was a misstep in The Rock's career, which can have long-term consequences. With cases such as these, his friendly and charismatic demeanor may not be enough to get him out of this mess, especially since many of his lies and missteps have become more obvious. If that wasn't enough, he is also losing popularity among many WWE fans. He even made the most disliked WWE video on YouTube. The SmackDown with Roman Reigns racked up over 500,000 dislikes in less than 36 hours. That dislike bar was growing so fast, it even shocked the WWE. 2 years of build-up, 2 years of hype, all for nothing. WWE originally intended for Rock and Reigns to be the main event at WrestleMania 39, which took place in Hollywood last year. However, despite discussions about this plan, Rock later confirmed that he didn't work out and they couldn't make it happen. In Rock's absence, Cody Rhodes stepped up to challenge Reigns for the title. Although he didn't win, Rhodes has solidified his spot as WWE's top babyface ever since. Rhodes won the 2024 Royal Rumble, and fans were excited to see him get his rematch with Reigns at WrestleMania in April. But Rhodes stepped aside on SmackDown to let The Rock take the stage and face Reigns instead. Apparently, Rhodes handled the situation professionally, but felt a bit down about giving up the spotlight. Then the dislikes came, and The Rock was even booed on stage during the live event on Saturday. Do you know what else is interesting about The Rock? It turns out he has a clause in his contract that says he can't lose a fight. It seems that some of the toughest men on screen may not be so tough after all. His ego can't handle losing even a fake fight. Based on reports from the Wall Street Journal, Dwayne, Jason Statham, and Vin Diesel have signed conditions in their movie contracts that make sure they never lose a fight, limit the number of bodily injuries they receive, or punches they sustain. The Rock and his co-stars want to maintain this supremacy on screen and don't want to back down so he will never look weak. Now we can see where that is coming from. When his entire persona is built around his image, it is normal for Dwayne to make sure that all his on-screen characters never get beaten badly because no one wants to watch a loser. Instead, he has to remain on the top, becoming this supreme superhero that is strong enough to save the world. You know, there is something Dave Bautista said a while back after he left wrestling and focused on his acting. He said, "I never wanted to be the next Rock. I just want to be a good actor, a respected actor." He said he never cared about the spotlight or fame. All he ever wanted was for people to respect him and look up to him. He wanted to experience what it means to be an actor in Hollywood and how that would feel to accomplish something this big. If he could only see right now how well his statement would age with time. Well, when we are talking about lies, there is more where that came from. Apparently, The Rock lied to us about Black Adam. He said that the movie will be making anywhere between $52 million to $72 million in profits. He posted, "Waited to confirm with financiers before I share this excellent #Black Adam news. Our film will profit between $52 million and $72 million. Fact, at almost $400 million worldwide, we are building our new franchise step by step. First Captain America did $370 million for the DC future. But in reality, the movie was a box office disaster. After 7 weeks on the big screen, the movie generated just $387 million around the globe. And the budget, anywhere from $190 million to $260 million. This is not enough, especially nowadays with the cost of special effects, set, marketing costs, and all the other salaries they have to pay. According to insiders at Warner Brothers, there were still some COVID-related limitations that forced the studio to cut back on the global marketing campaign. The initial goal was to spend $100 million on advertising, but ended up with $80 million. This had a devastating impact on the overall profit. Because of that, the movie had to earn roughly $600 million to break even and surpass the benchmark to make a hefty profit. But as things were set in motion, the film was losing $50 million to $100 million in theaters. Overall, it was headed to a bad start. Now, domestic box office numbers are equally important as the overseas numbers, but the profits just don't add up. The movie took at least $190 million to make, but it's when you see the domestic returns alone that the film made only $168 million. Yes, it did better overseas, but the studio had to sell its distribution rights, and those who bought these rights took in most of the profits. So foreign receipts won't do it any good, especially with how the domestic numbers are going right now. Compared to other DC Universe films, this one has quite a substantial budget, and yet it has underperformed. Just look at Batman v Superman for a moment. The production cost was about $250 million, yet it made more than $330 million in domestic returns and over $874 million worldwide. Since we are talking about Dwayne Johnson here, we expect to see huge results. It was supposed to be a hit, but it turned out that not even all fans of The Rock were that interested in watching the movie. Although The Rock still remains this mega star, it seems that his influence didn't age well. He is quite innovative as a businessman, talented spokesperson, and someone who can make people laugh. But now that he is trying very hard to push his agenda, remain relevant and on top, we can see a lot of his fans pulling back. He has received a ton of criticism over the years, especially when it comes to him being a fitness influencer. But he has also been caught lying and endorsing questionable endeavors, which have had a major impact on his reputation. In real life, he is worth millions, so he does a pretty good job when it comes to his entrepreneurial spirit. But whether he will remain likable or not, we will have to wait and see. Now, when you compare him to John Cena, for example, you can see that Cena has aged better. He is avoiding scandals and controversies as much as he can, and this has made him a fan favorite. But The Rock, that's a completely different story. You see, what made him incredibly popular in the late 90s and early 2000s is now considered questionable behavior. Women today would get literally sick if someone were to behave with them that way, especially with millions of people watching. This was funny back then, but it is sexual harassment right now.
Hey, mama. Easy, big fella.
He also called Stephanie a
Marriage to the biggest slut in the Western Hemisphere.
Talk about emotional damage. Or that time he talked about pie and strudel.
The Rock loves pie.
This conversation went in so many different directions. It was indeed a hilarious, forgotten, and underrated segment, but there is no way he can do something like this again. His sexual remarks and clever wordplay got him a lot of attention over the years. He used to hint a lot about that in his Pie song. There are other moments that made Rock a memorable figure, like that time he humiliated Michael Cole.
Come on in here and read your message to The Rock's face. Or
Now yes, the people loved it and saw it as funny, but this was the early 2000s. Now, this would be called bullying. Or that time he was talking with Eddie Guerrero. This would have been funny in the 2000s, but racist in 2024.
clear something up for The Rock. Who were you? Were you Cheech or Chong?
Like that time he spoke Chinese.
Let him tell you in Swedish. What?
For The Rock to remain a fan favorite, he will need to watch what he says, does, and how he moves from here. Because the more savage he is, the more likely he is to get canceled. And the more he dabbles in politics or similar endeavors, the bigger the odds of people hating him. So what made him feel like on top of the world in the 90s and 2000s no longer works now. Times have definitely changed. To remain in the spotlight, he has to play his cards right and try to keep it low key. Otherwise, he risks making Gen Z and millennials very angry. Overall, The Rock is the kind of person who is super creative, talented, and has made himself a star. That's a fact. He grew up in a period that allowed him to be himself and grow into the person he wanted to become. He is very forward, likes to speak his mind, and resonates with all the people who view him as a hard worker and a great performer. He started off as a babyface with cheesy catchphrases, but look at him now. He outdid himself, made $1 million empire, and is still in the spotlight even in his 50s. And he is only getting bigger and more ripped as time goes on. Now, it is very difficult to remain relevant over the years, especially with the younger generation. Some people love him, others hate him. But it is true that he has managed to adapt to the times and still make more money than ever. However, a lot of people think that what we see on screen has nothing to do with the person he is in real life. People say he has a fragile ego since he forces contracts to make him a winner. He is lying about how he gets his muscles and the food he eats. He wants us all to think he is natural, while he might as well be relying on chemicals to get that perfect physique. In reality, he has an ideal management team that makes sure everything bad that happens in his life gets swept under the rug. Whatever the case may be, a lot of people are starting to see The Rock different. They are judging everything he does and are taking apart everything he says. He might have had a good run, but with all the advertisements and promotions, he could be getting over his head. People want him to be honest. They want to believe in his success even if it is not as perfect as he makes it out to be. They are just getting tired of being manipulated.